Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel Tech Stack Learning. So today we are diving into the Node.js promises concept. In the previous sessions, I have given a detailed example walkthrough of live coding of event loop and callbacks. So today's session is mainly focusing on the promises. If you have ever struggled with handling asynchronous operations in JavaScript or the Node.js, right? This tutorial is for you. So I will be covering everything from the basics of creating promises to advanced techniques like Promise.all, Promise.race, all settled, any, AsyncAwait. Okay, so by end of this video, you will have a solid understanding how to work with the promises effectively in Node.js. So before we start, if you like my channel, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Give it a thumbs up. If you have any specific topic of your interest on the Node.js, please put it in a comment box. I can surely help you get those sessions. Okay. So let's get started. First, let me create one folder for promises. Okay, so I'll create one more file called index.js and let me go to one sec. CD CD promises. Okay. So first what we will do here is creating a promise. How do we create a promise? So promise basically represents an eventual completion or failure of any asynchronous operations. Okay, it can be any of one of three states, like it could be pending, it could be fulfilled, or it could be rejected. Okay, that is what the definition of promise in Node.js. Okay, let's start with that. Let's create promise equal to new promise of, so we will give resolve, that is one state. Okay, and another state is reject. Okay, so so then inside that I'll be giving one variable as success equal to true. Okay, if success, then I'll make it as resolve of promise resolved. Okay, and if it is failed, else, if it is failed, then I'll give it as reject, which is indicating that my request has been failed with some error, right? Okay, now what I'll do is I'll be calling this promise function. Then what I'll do here is dot then. So what I'll do, pass message. So if once the function is called, whatever the message comes in, it is going to print me those message. Okay, console.log of message. If it is resolved or if it is rejected, whatever the message it is going to print. If there is any error, right? So even that gets tracked. One sec. Okay, if that gets tracked, and it will be printing the error. Okay, so let me just put console.error of error. Okay, so basically here what happens is, let's try to run this. Can see promise has been resolved. There is nothing like we have set it as true, right? So if I just set this as false, correct, so it says this promise is rejected, right? So here that is the message. So a new promise is created with an executor function. Basically that takes two, as I said, it has to resolve and reject as an argument depending on the condition. the promise is either resolved or it could be either rejected. Okay, and this then method handles a resolved value, and catch value, obviously, as you guys know, it is to handle the errors. Okay, it will handle the rejected values. Okay, so this is how the basic promise has to be created. Now let's see another concept of promises, that is chaining promises. Okay, promises can be chained to handle a sequence of asynchronous operations. Okay, let's see in action. Okay, so I have this new promise which will I'll just I will just create one, another one. Okay, just a second. Chaining promises. Okay, so what I'll do here is promise chain. Okay, so I'll be just having the result in this case, and what I'll do is I will not have any condition as such like this. Okay, I'll be just resolving it as first promise resolved. Okay, first promise resolved. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll just call this promise chain. Just a second. Okay, promise chain, then message, then log message, then what I'll do here is return second promise resolved. Okay, then what happens is I'll be again putting then of message equal to, then I'll just print this. Okay, then we are catching an error. Okay, here what we're trying to do is the first promise is resolved, which actually logs first promise resolved message. Okay, and in that then method returns a new promise that is resolved with the second. So once it calls here, it comes here, it prints the first promise resolved, then this particular then is gonna return another resolve, that is second promise resolved. Once this is done, this return, right, it goes to the next then, which will print like second promise resolved. Okay, this is the basic concept of chaining. Just a second. Let's see. Okay, you can see, so first it called this function, once it is written, it printed this, and then this particular then chained those return response to the next then, which is why it is printed the second promise resolved. Okay, this is basically the concept of chaining. Okay, next, anyways, handling errors. This is how you can handle the errors in promises, like dot catch, like how we have this dot then whenever there is a reject scenario, right? Basically it is going to come under this dot catch. Okay, so dot catch is mainly used to handle the reject scenario or the rejected, like promise is rejected with the promise rejected, right? So the catch method logs that error message. That is how you can handle the error in the promises. Okay, we have another main function is this Promise.all. Basically the Promise.all takes an array of promises and returns a single promise that resolves when all of the promises have resolved. Okay, so so let me just promises all. Okay, so let's take this one example. So first what we'll do is let promise 1 equal to promise dot resolve of promise 1 resolve. Okay, and so same way I'll create another one more promise, that is promise 2. Okay, I'll make it as this. Now what I'll do is I'll just do promise dot all of, then in an array I'm just going to put promise1 comma promise2. Okay, then what I'll do is I'll put dot, then once all are resolved, then at once put the message. Okay, so here what happens is console dot log of messages. Okay, then what happens here, we should also do a catch, right? So what I'll do is dot catch. I'll just copy paste the same thing. Okay, okay, so basically what happens here is we have two promises. So what I'll do is in an array I'm just going to pass all those two promises. So this promise all is used when you want to execute all the promises and then respond as at once. Okay, so here you can see promise1 resolved, promise2 resolved. So it has called two promises and all the messages has been both the promises are resolved, and returns a promise that resolves with an array of the resolved values. Okay, that is how the promise all works. Okay, next we have Promise.race. Basically it takes an array of promises and returns a single promise that resolves or rejects as soon as one of the promises resolves or rejects. Okay, so that is the different, that is about this race. So let's take an example of promise race. So here what I'm going to do here is let's promise two or three I'll put. Okay, new promise of resolve, okay, I'll put set timeout. So I'll put like 2000 milliseconds. Then I'll put promise dot, I'll just put resolve promise 3 resolved. Okay, okay, this is about one promise. Same way I'm just going to create another one. So I'll just create it as 4 10 4. Okay, now what is this promise race, right? So here promise race, let's try to add it. So basically promise dot race of, again we have to put it in the arrays. Okay, promise 2. Then what I'll do here is dot then of message. Then I'll just put whatever the message it is going to resolve. Okay, okay, and the same way the catch error, I'll just copy paste this. Okay, so here what happens is the promise raise returns a promise that resolves with promise for resolved because it is resolved first. So I'll make this in 1 second. Okay, 1 millisecond. So actually this gets resolved first compared to promise 3 resolve. So let's see how this is gonna work. 1 second. Oh, sorry. This I think I have to make 3 and 4. Okay. You can see the promise for result, right? It is going to print that. So here basically it's like a race, right? As the name says, takes an array of promises and returns a single promise that resolves first. As soon as it resolves, it's gonna give those result. Okay, that is about the promise race. So next one we have promise all settled. So we have uh, promise all settle. So here what happens is it waits for all the promises to settle, either resolve or reject, right? It returns an array of results. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll take the same example here. Okay, let me just copy paste this. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll just rename this into 5 and 6. Okay, 5 and 6. So what I'll do here is instead of one I'll make it as result, another one I'll make it as reject. Okay, now what we'll do, instead of all settled. Okay, we'll be passing this promise 5 and 6. Okay, then whatever the message, so I think we can just put it as results just for our understanding. Then what we will do here is we will have to loop the word printed. Okay, so what we will do here, results dot for each of result. Okay, uh, then we will be printing console we will be printing one sec, we will be printing results dot each. Okay, console dot result dot status. Okay, then result dot value or result dot reason. Okay, okay, so what we're trying to do here is we are trying to settle the things. So I don't think so we need this. Anyways, we are getting everything at once, right? So here what happens, it returns an array of results, one result and one rejected. Okay, let's execute and see. So you can see promise 5 result and promise 6, so it should be rejected. Okay, let's try. So you can see fulfilled, right? It has printed fulfilled, promise 5 result, rejected, promise 6 rejected. Okay, this is how you settle all promises at once. Okay, then we have Promise.any, which is the last one, which I will any. Okay, so here what happens here is it takes an array of promises and returns a promise that resolve as soon as any of the promises resolves or reject with an aggregate error if all the promises are rejected. Okay, um, so that is how it works. So let me take the other example where we had set timeout, right? Let me take that only. This one. Okay, let me take this example, and what I'll do here is I'll make it as 7 and 8. So what we will do here is first, yeah, let's resolve, and also we'll put reject. Okay, and we can say this set timeout, we can say promise 7 rejected. Okay, then I will be going with again for resolve, then I'll be putting it as promise 8 resolved. Okay, so here I'll make this one and 2 milliseconds. Okay, now I'll put any instead of this, I'll put 7 and 8. Okay, so let's try to run this and see. Okay, so this has given promise 7 rejected. Okay, because that got executed at once. Returns a promise that resolves that resolves with promise to resolve, because uh, because it has what to say, it is running exist like exactly like 1,000, right? So this is if all promises are rejected, then it throws an aggregated error. At least one got resolved, right? So it will be printing the resolved values. Okay, that's about the Promise.any. Okay, that's our session of our promises, Node.js promises. So I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and that you are now very much confident on working with these asynchronous operations. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below with any questions or topics you would like to cover next. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Thanks for watching and have a great day.